The New Jersey Devils have made another big move, adding Ondrej Palat to an already busy offseason. Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils is here to talk about that and all things New Jersey Devils next on the Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to the Locked On NHL podcast. Gil Martin, so glad to be with you today, and thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. My pleasure to welcome back to the show Trey Matthews, the host of Locked On Devils. And Trey, been a busy offseason for your team, and Ondrej Palat, the latest addition. Your preliminary thoughts on Palat joining the Devils in Newark?
I'm going to correct you before I give you my opinions. We got Marino from the Pittsburgh Penguins.
That's true.
That was our latest deal because we traded away Ty Smith and a third-round draft pick in next year's draft. But Ondrej Palat, he was plan B, but like I said before the recording, there's like hundreds of free agents. And, if you don't get your top option, which you and I both know who the top guy was, it was Johnny Hockey. Obviously, he decided to go to Columbus. A little frustrating, a little heartbreaking, and, a lot of negative feedback on my end, but still digressing a little bit. Ondrej Palat, I think what Ondrej Palat can definitely provide for New Jersey Devils is something they've been missing is leadership. Because who's the leader? Because you got Jack Hughes, you got Nico Hischier, you got Jesper Bratt, and you got Dougie Hamilton, PK Subban, Damon Severson. Yes, you can argue and say that all those guys are leaders in their own ways. But, outside of our baby big three, they got to focus on themselves. Like Jesper Bratt, Nico Hischier, and Jack Hughes, they got to focus on their respective games because they're still very young. That's not disrespect towards our captain, Nico Hischier, obviously, but they still have a lot of work to do. But the difference between Ondrej Palat, Damon Severson, Dougie Hamilton, and PK Subban is that Ondrej Palat has actually won something back-to-back nonetheless. And he's played his entire career with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and during his early tenure there, they were rebuilding. So it's just like, if anyone knows how to rally the troops, if anyone knows how to, pull someone up from the bootstraps, it's Ondrej Palat. And I feel as though that's what he's going to provide mostly. And I think he'll be a solid addition to the second line paired alongside with Nico Hischier.
What are the odds you think he gets a letter on his sweater?
Ooh, you know what? I haven't even thought about that. That's actually a very good question. I don't really know. I mean, I'm sure it would be something they would be talking about internally at the organization, but I'm sure his name will be brought up. But obviously Nico Hischier is the captain. Then you got Jack Hughes, and Jesper Bratt more likely than not will be signed to his extension, and then you got to put him into the mix as well. Dougie Hamilton, who's already been with the organization for a year. Damon Severson already has an A on his sweater. So I would say it's possible, but I wouldn't put my money on it.
Fair enough. John Marino, you mentioned earlier. What does he add to the mix on the blue line?
He adds solid defensive production. Now, I haven't talked about it on my show yet, but the fact of the matter is this. John Marino will definitely be a good addition for New Jersey Devils. He could definitely pass. He could create for others. He knows how to establish himself on the defensive side of things. Doesn't produce that much offense, but, so do a few other Devils players like Jonas Siegenthaler. But nonetheless, Siegenthaler is one of our best defensemen. But the more disappointing thing is, like, Ty Smith. Like, I was really hoping that he could have a bounce-back year in his third year in the league. It's kind of sad to see him go. But, it does raise a red flag saying, do the New Jersey Devils know how to develop their prospects correctly? Because Ty Smith had a solid rookie year, but then come his sophomore year, there were more lowlights than highlights. And I even predicted in a few of my episodes, I said, he's got to be a healthy scratch because he's not contributing enough for New Jersey Devils. And lo and behold, sometimes he was a healthy scratch and sometimes he was a non-factor. So it's disappointing to see Ty Smith go, but the fact that, we get Marino added to this roster, and the fact that he's coming from an organization like the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the fact that he's already established himself on the defensive side of things, really looking forward to it. And going back to Ondrej Palat, definitely there to provide the experience, the leadership, and also just contribute on the second line with Nico Hischier. So, while it wasn't the home run I was looking for this offseason, I still think it was a pretty solid day in the office, or a couple days in the office, for Tom Fitzgerald and company.
So what, between now and the start of training camp, what other moves, if any, do you anticipate that the Devils are looking to make?
Get a winger. Get a scoring winger. Look at William Nylander. Look at JT Miller. Look at Patrick Laine. Look at all those guys. Like, just question. Vladimir Tarasenko, see if you could get one of those guys to come to the organization via a trade, something. Like, I know, basically JT Miller and Patrick Laine. I know the Columbus Blue Jackets and the Vancouver Canucks have said that their plans are to keep their respective players, but wouldn't hurt to ask. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I feel as though the New Jersey Devils, if they legitimately want to improve so much compared to last year, add another scoring option. Okay, so Ondrej Palat, that's a good first step in the right direction. Get somebody else. Like, I just want another top 6 contributor for a Devil, someone who I know can give me a point per game at least, or somewhere close in that ballpark. So more scoring depth and more options for a top 6. So get a winger.
And as far as the goaltending situation, we know it was a little messy last year, to say the least. How do you think it shapes up this year right now?
Okay, so they said that Mackenzie Blackwood is healthy and ready to go. That's great. But the problem was that Mackenzie Blackwood's career was sort of heading on the same trajectory as Corey Schneider, which was, he gets injured a lot, doesn't have a suitable backup. We have to rely on him too much. I am hoping and praying that Vitek Vanacek, while he hasn't been in the league for too long, he's that answer to just, give Mackenzie Blackwood that suitable backup. We tried with Corey Crawford. We tried with Jonathan Bernier. We'll see if Jonathan Bernier will be the third-string goalie this season. We'll see what his health is at this point. But I really hope that Vitek Vanacek is that guy that the New Jersey Devils can rely on. And I talked about it in a silly season episode because I was like, who do we pursue? Do we pursue Braden Holtby? Do we pursue Darcy Kemper? Do we pursue Vitek Vanacek? I said the more realistic option, or the option that I would go with, was Vitek Vanacek, and I got it right. So hopefully Vitek Vanacek can be that answer for New Jersey Devils. And, can his I don't know if his stats are going to improve just because we're not the Washington Capitals, but we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, look, I think one thing I think we can agree on, the Devils are a better team now than they were 2-3 weeks ago. And you think they have a legitimate shot at the playoffs this year right now?
Ceiling is the wild card. That's all I'll say. That's the ceiling, is just get a wild card spot, because your team, the Islanders, getting a little up there in age. I know you guys got a little younger, but you guys were the oldest team in the entire league last year. Washington Capitals, up there with you guys in age. And then Pittsburgh Penguins, same thing. Like, don't let the trade distract you from the fact that the Pittsburgh Penguins are getting older and older and older. And then the Philadelphia Flyers are a hot mess. And then the Columbus Blue Jackets, youngest team in the NHL now. Since we made these signings, since we made these trades, whatever the case might be, the New Jersey Devils went from being the youngest team in the NHL to now jumping about 6 spots ahead in that category. So we're no longer the youngest team in the NHL, albeit we're still relatively young, but I think we're in the 25th position last time I checked on Elite Prospects.
Not bad. Not bad. All right. Trey, why don't you tell our listeners and our viewers where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
You can find me wherever you get your podcast from, Apple, Spotify. Once again, wherever you get your podcast from, at Locked On Devils on Twitter. And also subscribe to the YouTube page. Road to 1,000 subscribers before opening night. So help me achieve that goal. And you can find me at TreyMatt4. So TreyMatt and the number 4. All
right, Trey, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including Major League Baseball. And you've got futures on the NBA, the NFL, and the NHL as well. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check on all your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, tennis, and golf. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts.